edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we are going to try and right a wrong on the channel by attempting this extraordinary puzzle by the constructor Nahileon. I mean, my admiration for Nahileon's puzzles literally knows no bounds, but I don't know how we didn't do this when it was released, which is over a year ago. I looked on Logic Masters Germany, this came out in October 2021. And somehow it never got to us, or we never realised it existed, because I can tell you that had I known this existed, I would certainly have wanted to try it. It looks ridiculous, frankly. Firstly, how can there be enough information in this grid to solve it? Secondly, you will notice, if you're a fan of things like girth symmetrical placement and other wonderful Sudoku theorems like that, that this puzzle is absolutely symmetrical. So the title of it, which is Symmetry ? Is, I think, getting at the fact that Nahileon's saying, well, what's going on here? How does this puzzle only have one solution? And that is a mystery. So there must be something about the dottage. It's 159 rules. Many of you will be familiar with that if you've been watching the channel for a while. 159 rules is sort of indexing type rule that computer programmers apparently are very fond of. And it must be something to do with how these rules interact with the black dots that somehow breaks the symmetry. So we might have to put up the Cracking the Cryptic equivalent of the bat signal, the Boyac signal, and get Matt Boyac to explain to us what's going on in this if we get stuck on it, because this is very, very peculiar and really rather wonderful. And I'll read you the rules in just a moment or two. I don't have much news today. Just a reminder that the Patreon competition for November has closed, so I'm going to be reading out names of solvers who've managed to solve all 12 puzzles from the labour of Hercules' Sudoku hunt for a while yet. I'll do some of those names in a moment or two, but I just wanted to thank Panthera, Aspartagus and Peter Venus for constructing such a wonderful, wonderful hunt. And we've had literally thousands of entries again, and the comments have been absolutely universally positive. People have loved it, so thanks to those constructors. What a wonderful job. We're going to be releasing the video solutions soon, and I will pick a winner soon as well, so leave that with me, and we'll come back with the winner of the competition in the next couple of days. But very well done to the following: Sam Lamb, Spencer Capera, who I think won last month's competition, Alex and Serveus Tolan, I want to say, I hope I'm pronouncing your names correctly, Daryl Hemsley, Beyond Book, Anthony, I always want to say Beyond Borg there, but no, it's Beyond Book, Anthony Corona, Ian Washington, Ben Batera, Eloise and Chris, Michael Stanieri, Ignacio Cascudo, Jason O, Stuart Crichton, Zach Murphy, and Kavita Jagannathan. You all sent in the correct entry. Very, very well done indeed. And the only other news actually is that I've got 3 birthdays to announce today, for an 18th birthday, a 19th birthday and a 20th birthday, which is rather cool. So Kelsey, you've turned 18 today over there in Utah, and I loved your description of watching a Cracking the Cryptic video. Basically, you said that you've never felt as productive watching YouTube as when you watch a Cracking the Cryptic video, and that I like that. That made me feel proud of the channel. And Ryan, you've turned 19 today, I believe, and are discovering Sudoku variants a go with the channel. That's good to hear. And Chris over in Florida, you've turned 20 today, and I know this because your friend Josh wrote to us from the UK. So I hope all 3 of you, Kelsey, Orion and Chris, you have a great day today with lots and lots of chocolate cake. And that's all there is to announce. So why don't we have a look at Symmetry by Nahileon and see what on earth is going on. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits in column 1 indicate the column in which the digit 1 appears in that row. When I first heard the 159 rules, I always thought that sounded completely baffling, but over time I've sort of got more used to it. And there's an example here. It says, e.g., if row 4 column 1 is a 6, then row 4, column 6 is a 1. Yeah, okay, because basically this column indexes where the 1 goes in the rows. So this is saying in this row, we must put the 1 in the 6th column. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If this was a 9, that would be saying the 1 in this row goes in the 9th column, which would be that cell. So that's how it works for column 1. Now there's something similar going on. The same is true of column 5 and the digit 5. So this column is telling us where the 5 goes in each of the rows. So imagine that that cell was an 8. If this cell is an 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that would be a 5. If this was a 2, 1, 2, that would be a 5. So that's how the central column works. And then column 9 is the same again, but for the digit 9. That's why this puzzle is sometimes called a 159 puzzle. So let's imagine that cell was a 3. Then the 9 would go in the 3rd column of this row. If this cell was an 8, it would go in the 8th column of this row. So it's quite a simple rule once you get your head around it, but it leads to all sorts of trickery. And there's a bit more to the rules. Cells separated by a white dot contain consecutive digits. So if this was a 1, this would have to be a 2 to be consecutive with it. Cells separated by a black dot contain digits in a ratio of 1 to 2, i.e. one digit is double the other. So if that was an 8, this would have to be a 16. No, I'm only joking. It would have to be a 4. 16 is not a valid Sudoku digit, at least not in this puzzle. So we've got to make sure one of the digits is double the other. So if this was 8, the only way that could work is if that was 4. Not all possible dots are given, and digits may not repeat on either of the main blue diagonals. Right, so that set of 9 digits there has to be the digits 1 to 9 once each, and this set of digits here has to be the set of digits 1 to 9 once each. No repeats on the diagonals, and you'll be good. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking, and well, it's hard to know where to start here, isn't it? I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be in the first 2 rows, but let me start with the secret. Now, this is not I'm about to tell you a secret. It's not the secret of Sudoku. The secret of Sudoku, which I do tell people very, very occasionally, is only relevant for puzzles that involve arithmetic. And this puzzle, I don't think can possibly involve arithmetic. No, it simply cannot. So it's not that secret I'm going to tell you. It's the secret of 159 puzzles. And it really is a bit of a blockbuster secret because it can massively help solve these things. And if you go back into the annals of Cracking the Cryptic, you'll find videos where I try and do 159 puzzles without knowing this secret. And it really, they're much harder. So the secret is that in each set of 3 within a box on the red lines, on the red cells, these 3 cells here, same would be true of these 3, these 3, these 3, etc. We've got to see a low digit, a middly digit, and a high digit in some order. So what you cannot do is something like that. That simply has already broken the puzzle. And the way to understand that is to realise what's going on if you try and do something like this. So this would be 2 high digits, two of the digits 7, 8, and 9. Because the 7 here would be telling us the 1 goes there in that row, and the 8 here would be saying the 1 goes there in that row. And you can see immediately you get a double 1 in this box, and that won't work. So we have to make sure that basically one of these digits, we don't know which one, this is going to be the challenge. You've got to have something like, this. So one of the digits is low, one of the digits is middly, and one of the digits is high. And the high one will obviously be indexing the 1 over here. This one will be indexing the 1 over here. And this one will be indexing the 1 over there, ensuring that the 1s are in different boxes, different 3x3 boxes of the Sudoku. Now, for some of you, that's probably self-evidently obvious, and you didn't even think it was a secret. But for others, it was definitely a secret. Now, don't tell anyone. But let's see if we can use that to our advantage to solve the puzzle. Now, right, okay. So we can we can use that a little bit, I think. Because, right, how does this white dot work? I wasn't expecting to start with the white dot. I was expecting to start with the black dots, but I'm going to start with the white dot. Because that dot, because we can't have 2 digits here from the same entropy set. We can't have 2 low digits or 2 middle digits or 2 high digits. We have to cross sets in these 2 cells, yet retain the consecutive nature of the digits. So this is either a 3-4 pair or it's a 6-7 pair. That's all it can be. You know, you can't put 2 and 3 in there for the reasons that we showed over here. That would be saying the 5 was in 2 positions in this box, which won't work. So this is either 3-4 or 6-7. And that's already, I don't know, I already love that. So that means, what does that mean? That means we can't have, is that putting pressure on, I feel like it might be putting pressure on the black dots. The black dots, oh no, hang on, I know what this might be. I was thinking there's a lot of options for the black dots, but what about the digits that can't go on black dots? So in, what do I mean by that? Well, you can never put 5, 7 and 9 on black dots, because if you try it, let's try it. Let's try and put 5 here. This cell now has to either be 2.5 or 10. That won't work. If that's a 7, this has to be 14 or 3.5. That won't work. And if we try for 9, we've got 4.5 or 18, and we're just getting into realms of more and more ludicrous digits here. So that means 5s, 7s and 9s in these 2 boxes are going to be in these V pentominoes. Now, let me just think about this for a moment. What is that telling us? I'm not actually sure. I mean, obviously you can't have 5, 7 and 9 in that string because you can't make those 2 cells 5, 7 and 9. Oh, okay, that's weird as well. So I was wondering as well whether it was something to do with the fact that we knew these 2 cells were indexing the 5 in these 2 rows. But actually, if we highlight the positions that 5s can go in rows 1 and 2, it's those positions. So it's cells that are not on the black dots and not in this domino where we can't have a 5. And that's actually all this was already sort of saying that, with it being a 3-4 or a 6-7 pair. If this is a 3-4 pair, the 5s are here. If it's a 6-7 pair, the 5s are in that 2x2. So in fact that hasn't advanced, we wouldn't get a PhD for that. It's not advanced the causes of knowledge, has it? And the 9, so the 9 is indexed by these cells. Oh, right, okay, this is better. This is better. So let's look at 9 in row 1 and row 2. Because that's effectively what that's saying is that the options for these 2 cells are the same as the options for these 2 cells, because we've got to be putting the 9 in either column 3, column 4, column 6 or column 7. We cannot put it in columns 1, 2, this one or these 2, because we'll either be on a black dot or we'll be on this domino. So these squares have got to have the same options as this domino here. But you can't, right, and you can't put 7 on a black dot because we've already talked about that. That simply won't work. And now, and now splitting up things into low digits and middly digits is actually going to. It does everything. It does everything. I know what these digits are now. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. This is the sort of thing that it just fills me with admiration and joy, because you could almost have, we could have presented this puzzle just as these 2 rows, and it would be, you know, worthy of being seen around the world, because it literally is. The logic is so pretty. Because remember, we've got to have different entropies for these digits. So one of them could be a 1, 2 or a 3. One of them could be a 4, 5 or 6. We can never have a 4, 6 pair here. And if you don't believe me, let's try it. Let's try 4 and 6 there. What's that going to say? Well, that's saying there's a 9 here and there's a 9 here. And that doesn't work. There's 2 9s in box 2 then. So one of these digits has to be a 3. But the moment one of these digits is a 3, one of these digits is going to be its 6 to partner it across the black dot. And once we've got a 3, 6 pair in one of those, you can't have 6 on the right hand side as well. So if this is 3, 6... obviously this square cannot now be a 6. So there is a 4 in one of these two positions and no 6. So this has become a 3, 4 pair with a 6 here, and either the 4 is going to be accompanied either by a 2 or by an 8, depending on whether it goes up or down. And that means that the 9 in these rows, the nines in these two rows are in columns 3 and 4, so they're in those cells. How on earth do I pencil mark that? Well, they're not there, I suppose, is what we've just... Yes, okay, so there's a 9 down here by Sudoku, and there's a 9 in one of those cells. This is awful pencil marking, by the way. Never do this. This is just the way that madness lies. So one of these is 3, 6. So does that mean you can... Oh, good grief. Good grief. Right. I know what these digits are now. This is simply extraordinary logic. Look, what would happen if one of these dominoes was a 3, 6 domino? Let's just try it. Well, we know one of these is a 3, 6 domino, so if this is a 3, 6 domino, it would have to be this one. But now what do we put on this black dot? And the answer is a 4, 7 pair. But 4 and 7 are not consecutive, so we cannot do that. Because one of these, whatever this is, it's either 3, 4, or it's 6, 7. So if you knock out both 3 and 6 from the options for the white dot, the puzzle breaks. So that means that there is no 3s and 6s on these black dots, and we know there's no 5, 7s and 9s, so these have got to be 1, 2, 4 and 8. Okay, but there's right, got it. Okay, so now we've got a 4 over here in this domino, and a 4 over there in that 2 by 2. So what does that tell us about whether we can put 4 in here as well? Well, if we did have a 4 in here as well, let's count the number of 4s we would have in 2 rows of the grid. We'd have 1 over here, 1 there, and 1 there. That's 3 4s in 2 rows. Now that necessitates a repeated 4 in a row, and that will break the rules of Sudoku. So you cannot put 3, 4 here. This must be 6, 7, which is indexing 5. So, yes, so the 5 in these 2 rows now is not able to be over there, and is in fact in these little 4 cells. Right, okay, so I'm going to change my colouring now. I'm going to get rid of that and make that purple. And the purple is where the 9 is in these rows, and the yellow is where the 5 is. 6, 7. 1, 2, 4, 8. And okay, and the 1, 2, 4, 8 here have to be, well, wherever the 1 is, it's going to go with 2. So there's going to be like a 1, 2 pair in one of these positions and a 4, 8 pair in one of these positions. So there's a 1, 2 pair and a 4, 8 pair. And over here there's a 3, 6 pair. Right, okay, this is important, I think, because now I don't think you can have a 4, 2 pair over here. Because if you did have a 4, 2 pair over on the right hand side, you're forcing the left-hand side to be a 1-8 pair across a black dot. And 1, well, 8 is not double 1. There is a knowledge bomb for you from Cracking the Cryptic. So that doesn't work. So if this can't be 2, 4, we can take 2's out of here. This becomes 6, 8, which means we've got a 3, 6 pair and a 4, 8 pair. Okay, so we're going to have a 4, 8 pair over on the right and a 4, 8 pair over on the left. So 4s and 8s have to be in these positions in row 3. And okay, and what have I not thought about then? I've thought about 9s, I've thought about 5s. Have I thought about 1s in the context of these cells? The answer is no. Right, okay, so you can't have 8 on the left-hand side here, because if you do, that's indexing the 1. Imagine that was an 8. That would be indexing the 1 in this row, which has to be now here. Where we know we've got 6s and 8s, we don't have the digit 1 as an option in those two cells. So there is no 8 on the left-hand side of these dominoes, which means there's no 4 on the right-hand side, because we know one of these is a 4, 8 pair. So this is now... and we've got to have different... Oh, we already knew we've got to have different entropy. I thought I was about to get excited about something I already knew if I'd thought about it in the right way. Okay, so one of these is a 1 or a 2. And if it's a 1, oh, I see, it's indexing itself then. It's saying the 1 in the row goes in the first column, which would be itself. If it's a 2, it's going to have a 1 here. And the 2 would be saying that the 1 goes in the second column. So that works very nicely. Okay, but if it's a 4... Oh, yeah. The one of these that's a 4, and one of them must be a 4, is indexing a 1 in one of those positions, where it overlaps with its friend the 9. So now I've got a 1, 9 pair here. Much good it'll do me, but I have it's certainly true. So there's a 4 in one of these, there's an 8 in one of these. There is 5s in this little 2x2. Those can't be 9s. In fact, maybe I'll get rid of these pencil marks now, because I'm not even sure I know what they mean. Yeah, okay. Because there's a 5 in that 2x2, by sudoku there's a 5 down here. And because there's a 9 in this 2x2, there's a 9 over there. What's this 7 meaning? Do I actually know that there's a 7 in one of those cells? I don't think I know very much about 7s at all, so I'm going to remove the 7 pencil mark and hope that I'm right in thinking I know nothing about one. I know 7s are in one of those two cells. Oh, entropy on that cell. Yes. Yes. Oh, this is great. Look, this cell has to be a low digit, because I've got a middly digit in the form of the 6 and a high digit in the form of the 7. So to make sure that the 5s in these 3 rows are all in different boxes, this has to be low. It's not 1. It's got to be a 2 or a 3. So there's now a 5 in one of those. That is not a 5. In fact, that's going to be a high digit, isn't it, by exactly the same logic. But look, this has given me a 4, 8 pair over here, which means that these squares are 2, 3 or 5. And this square is a 7, I want to say. Yeah, we've not put a high number into these 3. So this is a high number. It doesn't seem to be able to be 9, and it doesn't seem to be able to be 8. So that's a 7. That's our first digit in the puzzle. The 7 is indexing the 1 in this row as being in the 7th column, which is here. So now there's a 9 in one of those two cells, which can't go here. Sorry, it can't go there, because that would be an 8. And there's already an 8 used in the box. Yes, this is... Yeah, I think this is right. Look, we've got to put a 9 in one of those. Now, if I did put the 9 there, that's in the 8th column. So I'd have to put the 8 there to index it, and then I'd have 2 8s in the box. So the 9 goes here and indexes itself. I've got a 1 on the diagonal now, and I must know what these digits are. These digits are 2, 5 and 7. That's not 7 by the power of 7. Is it true there's a 5 here? Oh, it is. Yes, of course it is. Look, there must be a 5 in this domino because of this 2, 3. So that can't be a 5 and has to be a 2, which means this is a 5, 7 pair. This is a 3 by the power of magic. This 3 indexes the 5 in its row as being in the 3rd column. So that's a 5. That's a 6 by sudoku. Oh, good grief. This is a 3, 9 pair by sudoku. And do I know what those digits are now? Well, yes, I do. They do not include the digit 3 anymore. So I mean, that's magical. I've not looked at anything below row 3. Row 1, 2 and 3 in this puzzle are, I mean, magical is the right word, the right adjective. It's just crazy that you can just fill these in. And that the logic is so beautiful. I mean, this white dot, that white dot is to die for. Good grief. But I think now we might start to get into trouble because I can't see how to do much more at the top of the grid, which implies we're going to have to roam further afield, which is probably going to either mean this white dot sequence or these black dot sequences. Maybe that cell, because it can't be 3 or 4. So this has the bald options of being 1, 2, 6 or 8. And it's in, oh, it's, no. This is indexing a 9. You can't put a 9 on a black dot, so that is now 6 or 8. And yet, well, and because you can't put a 9 on a black dot, how could this be 8? If this is 8, that's a 9, so that's a 6. That's probably been available from the start. No, actually that's maligning my own solving slightly too much, because it's been available ever since this was a 3-4 pair, but getting that 3-4 pair was still relatively intelligent. So I think otherwise this could be a 3 or a 4, couldn't it? That would simply be saying there's a 9 in one of those squares, which is not that unreasonable. So I think this could have been 3, 4 or 6. But once you get a 3-4 pair here, now it's forced to be 6, which makes this 3, which doesn't do anything along the diagonal, which means there's a 3 in one of those cells. Whoopsie, lost my army by sudoku. Probably, oh, there's a 6 in there as well, so let's keep track of that, because of this 6-8 pair. This domino now is similar to this 2x2, isn't it? It's got to be from 1, 2, 4 and 8. And 8 looks impossible here, because we'd have to put a 1 into this cell. And as I've said before, and turned out to be wrong, there are no such things in Sudoku as Schrödinger cells. But in this Sudoku, that's true. There are no Schrödinger cells in this Sudoku. There's no 4 here either by pencil mark. So this is down to 1 or 2, so that can't be an 8. Can't be a 1 by the power of the diagonal. So it is, I want it to be 4, because that's going to clear up this digit. 4, oh, it's not, well, it's not 4 actually. It's not 4. Oh, the way to see this actually is quite cute. This digit is a 1 or a 2, and it's indexing the 1 in the row. So it's saying that the 1 is in one of those 2 cells in the row on a black dot. Well, the only digit that can accompany a 1 on a black dot is a 2. So actually this square here is a 2, because it can't be a 1 by the diagonal, which means this is a 1, which means this is a 2-4 pair at the top of the grid, which means that is not got 2 in it. So this is a 1-8 pair. The 2 doesn't do anything on the diagonal. So what's this done for us then? It's put 1, okay, right, I see. It's put 1 in one of these cells. Now the 1 is indexed by those cells, so we've got to have a 3 in one of these now. And you can sort of see the entropy emerging. We've got a 1 as a low digit in this box, a 2 in a low digit in that one, and a 3 in that one, i.e. they've been separated into different 3 by 3 boxes down the column, which is exactly what we were expecting because of the secret. Therefore, maybe these cells somehow? 4, 5. That cell can't be 6 or 7, so that cell's restricted. That cell's got to be 4, 5, 8 or 9. Okay, and that's not 8 or 9 because that would plonk a 5 on a 3, 6 pair. So this is now 4 or 5, which means the 5 in this row is in column 4 or 5, so it's in one of those two cells, which annoyingly is not pointed at. So, do we think it's the white dots, or do we think it could be entropy in these cells, perhaps? Maybe I'll check that. There's got to be a low digit in one of these cells, and that low digit is not a 3. So there's a 1 or a 2 in one of those cells, which is indexing the 9. So there is a 9 in one of those 4 cells, is what we're being told there. And yes, I'm not proud. I'm going to pencil mark that today. I think corner pencil marks are absolutely fine. It's the central pencil marks that get a bit cluttered, if you know what I mean. Okay, and I've got to put a high. Right, there's a 7 or an 8 in one of these as well, because it can't be a 9. And that means there's a 9 in one of those cells. This is not doing anything. This is not the way to do this. I'm getting crazy pencil markage and no actual progress. So maybe it is the... Oh, I can see, right, I can see something about this cell, which is that it's not middly. That's definitely a middly digit. So this is either a high digit. Now, if this is a high digit, it can't be a 9, because then it'd have to have double 8 as its partners on both, because it would have to have an 8 on both sides of the white dot. So if that is high, it's not... Oh, if it's high, it's got to be 8. It can't be 7 by Sudoku. Right, what if it's low then? If it's low, it's not 3, so it's 1. Oh, it's not 1. So if it's low, it's got to be 2, because if it was 1, it would have 2 on both sides of it. So this is down to 2 or 8, which means this is either a 1, 2, 3 sequence, which would have a 1 here and a 3 here, which seems to be fine, doesn't it? Or it's a 7, 8, 9 sequence, which would have a 9 here and a 7 here. So this is really, really constrained. Can we do... Yes, I can do it. By the miracle of normal 159 rules. That's a 6. So that's telling me where the 9 goes in this box. It's got to go there. And once this is a 9, that cell can't be a 9. That's a 1, 2, 3 triple. Which means that... Well, that's it. This is indexing the 5. So it's telling me put a 5 over here. Not a 7, put a 5 over there. Okay, and I've still got 3 positions for the 9. Oh, but the 1 is now positioned, so that's got to be a 6 in order to say that this is in the 6th column. Now this is now high, and it's not 7, so that's 8 or 9 by entropy, and that's telling me to put a 1 in one of those two cells. If we put the 1, oh I see, if we put the 1 there, it's indexing the 9, and they sort of echo back off each other. Wow, okay. So now this digit is an 8 by the power of Sudoku. It's not 7, it's not 9, and a bit of entropy, and it's got to be high. So that's an 8, that's indexing that cell, which is now a 5, but also took the position of a 1, so that's now a 1, that's now a 9, so we have got the echoing 1s and 9s going on. That cell in the corner is not a 3, so it doesn't get a song, although you did get a different REM song at the start of the video. which I recorded this morning, and I hope wasn't too awful with me wailing away on it. Now, this is high. It's a 7 or an 8. Oh, which is really... Okay, that's not really telling us anything. I've already got 9s pencil marked as possible here. So... Wow, okay. Now, what do we do then with this newfound knowledge of the world? Can we use... Yes, we can. 6 on this diagonal tells me that digit. So that's got to be 8, that's got to be 6, that's got to be 3, that's got to be 4. So that's got to be 4. Now we know the 4 was on a domino with an 8. So that's an 8, which means that's a 2 and that's a 1. Which means that's a 1 and that's a 9. That's a 9 and that's a 3. That's a 6 and that's a 7. That's a 7, that's a 5. That's a 2 and that's a 5. And that is ludicrous. The top of the grid is fully finished now. So these digits are 3, 5 and 8. And they are indexing 1s. So we've got a 1 here. We've got to have a 1 in one of those is what that's saying. Now, what about the diagonal though? Can we get... Well, we can get rid of a 1 there. Because of this one. So we can get rid of a 5 from this cell. And there's a 1 in one of those 3 cells as well, corresponding to the 8th column, which is why one of those cells is an 8. There is something really lovely about how all this indexing works. There's got to be a 2 in one of those cells as the low digit. And that's going to index a 9 into one of these cells. And again, you can sort of see we could have got that just by Sudoku. In fact, look, 3 in this box is just done by Sudoku. So those squares have got to be 4, 7 and 8. And there might be something we can do with the diagonal. We can't have 8 there. So this is 4 or 7, which is not, it's not an index digit, is it? And these squares are therefore 1, 2, and 6. I don't know if that's important. So these squares I know. These have got to be 7, 9 and something. 4. Okay. Now I'm stuck. What about... Well, probably I've got to be thinking either about those 3 cells or about these 3 cells, I think. What's the middle digit then? That sees both diagonals. So that this middle digit is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 or 7. Okay, that digit's a 9. I don't know how long that's been available, but I've only just looked at it. If you stare hard at it, you can see there's a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, a 4 here, a 5 here, a 6, 7 there, and an 8 there. So assuming there isn't a 9 also on one of these diagonal cells, that is a 9, which means that's not 9. This 9 is indexing the 5 in its row into that position, therefore getting an echoing 5 and 9 going on. Okay, so these squares have got to be from 2, 7 and 8. One of these is a 1, so one of these is middly, and the middly digit is going to be the 4 or the 5, depending on what this is. So these are from 1, 4 and 5. Okay, that can't be 5, so that can't be 4. Can that be 5? Ah, yes it can, you rotten thing. So we've almost got something going on in this column, but probably not quite enough. So where's the easy win here? There's got to be a 7 by Sudoku at the bottom of the grid in one of those 2 cells, so that's not able to be 7. Maybe it's the diagonals. Let's check the diagonals a bit more judiciously. We've got 4, 5. Is it 4, 5 and 7 into these squares? Oh, where does 5 go on this positive diagonal? It can't go there. So 5's only got one place to go. That's probably going to help. That means that's a 5. That's indexing a 1, so that's become a 1. That's now a 4 by the power of either indexing or Sudoku. That becomes a 5, indexing to itself, which is a bit underwhelming. This square is a 4 or a 7 by the diagonal, but it sees a 4, so that's a 7. So that's not 7. This is now 4, that's an 8, that's a 7. This 8 gives us a 7 in the corner over here. That's indexing the 9, so this is now a 9. This is a something. My scanning not quick enough to work out it was a 4. This is a 2-8 pair. There's a 2 here, so that's a 2, that's an 8. That's a 4, I believe. These squares have got to be 6 and 7, and the 7 is useful, so 7 and 6 go in. 4 and 8 go in using the power of this 4 down here. Those two squares are 2 and 6, and the diagonal helps us to know the result of that. If that in fact is a 2, it sees a 1 and a 2 in its row. I've probably been neglecting all the indexing information we've just been getting, but let's see if we can keep going with our Sudoku. In fact, look, this diagonal hasn't got an 8 on it, so that's got to be there. So that's an 8 and that's a 2, and this is an 8, so that's saying the 9 goes in the 8th column, the 9 goes in the 2nd column, so that becomes 4, that becomes 7. Wow. Just wow, that's a 3 by Sudoku, that's a 3 by Sudoku, that's a 3, that's an 8, that's indexing 1, that's indexing 1, that becomes a 6, so that's a 6 according to pencil marks. Let's just delete these last two and hope that we haven't made a ricket. So that looks like it's going to be a 4, which looks correct, and this looks like it's going to be a 7, and that looks correct. What a puzzle that is. Just what a puzzle that is. Nahileon, that is... it's a masterpiece, a complete and utter masterpiece. I cannot tell you how lost in admiration I am that you found that this existed. This is one of those puzzles that's so pure, you feel it just exists in nature. And what Nahileon has done is sort of scraped away all of the rock that's encased this fossil, and slowly chiseled away at the rock until he's revealed this absolutely ridiculous skeleton beneath the world that sort of just makes you go, oh, what is going on? I think that is, yeah, it is as good a puzzle as you will ever see, ever. And I loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. Let me know if you found it approachable. I think it was quite approachable. I mean, I think you're sort of, well, actually, how much is the how important is the little secret? Maybe quite important, because I used that quite extensively. I mean, I immediately used it on the white dot in the middle, which if you didn't know the secret would probably not occur to you early on. So I wonder. I don't know. I look forward to the comments. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.